I'm just going to get the stream going so you can look at it from the Discord. You should be able to see what I see now.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so before we even get started, we're gonna kind of be looking at the main thing that you're trying to do. So first, are you trying to macro or are you trying to cheese, Ranjan?
Nah, I don't like cheesing Zergs too often other than like a Hellbat Marauder. Or like if I'm just having fun, I'll do that Viking Hellbat shit. But,
Okay.
or proxy racks. Like if I'm like trying to practice stuff versus Toss or Terran and I'm playing on the ladder, I'll just like proxy racks Zergs and I'll usually just lose the
Okay.
game. So yeah, I'm more trying to do macro stuff. That's
So then we're gonna look at 3 main objectives for you as Terran that you need to accomplish to even be in a game against Zerg. And I don't think Aaron is too much of a stretch compared to Ron. So
I think Aaron's a good step above Ron though.
yeah. So the first major step is this is not necessarily build information, but just more objectives. After you get your setup, you know, your orbital, your racks, your CC, all that stuff, the Reaper has 2 jobs. One is to just be annoying, as all Reapers must. The second one is at 3 minutes, it needs to go into the main base and scout to see if there's any weird tech. Ideally, if you have like, it always depends on how much attention you can give to your Reaper and like understand what you're looking at, but ideally you're only going to see 1 drone on the gas. There's just going to be a spawning pool, some queens, some lings are going to be chasing you. You know, the drone line should be pretty good. And then
hopefully we see like a third base by like 3:30, right? Stuff like that.
so the third base can start as early as 3 minutes, 250.
Yeah.
But really, your Reaper, actually, the timing that it gets there, because the Reaper spawns anywhere between 2 minutes, 2 minutes 10. By the time it gets to the natural, if he's doing like a super standard, like third before ling speed, you'll see the drone leaving the natural.
Yeah.
If he's doing a ling speed before third, which it's a minor alteration, some GMs would be like it's absolutely horrible, but I'm going to kill the music real quick. And we're gonna just fast forward through a little bit of this, and I'll go over the next objective while we get the setup going, and we'll see if you achieve your first one. The second objective is while you're setting up your second base, maybe preparing to take a third, however you tend to do it. There's a few ways. I know you like bio. So when it comes to bio, there's a few ways you could do it. You could do more of like an innovation style where it's like you do a 1-1 push around 5:36 minutes, 6.5 minutes, and then you successfully land your third, and you start doing that while you prepare another wave. That's the industrial push style. The other way is kind of going more of a Clem style. I just call it Clem just because it's most recognizable these days with him doing it. But that's basically the you get your barracks, get your CC going, the Reaper. You got your gas, and then you get a factory, and then you go command center after the factory.
Yeah.
And then you take the gas, you take the starport, Hellion, Banshee for the third seat. That is a very complicated opener. It's just a lot of moving parts.
Sometimes I'm like a little off on my macro, and I like am a little late on my reactor, and you can't get the Hellions out as fast as you want, and so I'll just throw down a third CC much faster those games.
Yeah. And then so from there, it's just all about how much can you do. 4 to 6 Hellions is really good for denying creep. If you ever want to dive, you should take 8 Hellions with you. That's like the maximum amount, but that's also a dive amount.
Yeah, I think I like going 6 Hellions, and Banshees.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Especially if the Banshees survive, you can use them to defend your mineral lines from run-bys later on. And when you're sending the Reaper across, it's not a bad idea at all to just heavily queue SCVs in the
Yeah,
command
I'm
center.
missing my reactor because I built that gas first instead.
Yeah.
And then I think I send my marine maybe look for an overlord. But either way, I'm like missing my reactor for like no good reason, obviously, right here. But
Yep,
yeah, that's why I'm like floating money. But I get a drone.
you got a jump. So here's the thing, kind of like I was just saying. I'm gonna go back a little bit. What's the production tab? I want us to see like kind of how long workers weren't being made. It was a good 4 to 5 seconds. Nothing gonna be game ending, but what you can do, like I was saying, when you're microing, honestly, as a Terran, I'll do it whenever I'm microing anything because I hate having lapses in production. But for even just for the Reaper, after you start the reactor, start the factory, get the second gas going, and you just hard queue like 3 or 4 SCVs on the orbital, that will allow you to do that like 20-30 seconds worth of micro and not miss a beat on your worker production.
Yeah. Sometimes I do hit that right where yeah, you kind of get to just queue up like 3 SCVs and play with your Reaper, and it all works out perfect.
And so right
Yeah.
about now is when we need to have that Reaper jump into the main to get some scanning information. You're not doing that right now, so you're very vulnerable to any kind of tech 2 base all in. You do see the third. He takes the triangle third, so that's good information for you. That just kind of tells you like where the creep is gonna be kind of going. I'll
Yeah.
go back to
I
your
think I was
camera in a
like
moment, but the creep is
I think I
gonna.
was like worried about my macro kind of because I already knew I was kind of fucking up having to throw it on the third CC. It's probably why I was like not worrying on my Reaper.
It's fine. Like macro above micro, obviously. The Reaper is more than the micro damage. It's the scouting that it's most useful
Yeah,
for.
yeah, no, I know. No.
So here, taking this triangle third, it does come with some risk, but it also comes with advantage for the Zerg. It's not as far to creep to this third, and the creep is gonna kind of be out here more so. The risk he runs into taking this position is if you ever were to drop a siege army right here, and like, I don't know, it might not be worth it, but like I've seen players call down mules to mine these minerals out or just bring an SCV with them,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden you have like 2 or 3 tanks right here and a bunch of marines and a super small choke point shelling at the third. That's why this is a really dangerous third to take. If you don't, as a Zerg, make sure this isn't a problem. Otherwise, the front here is so open that uh, otherwise it's really easy to defend. So you're probably going to see a good amount of creep coming forward here, and maybe a little bit off the side. It all depends on where he plans to take his fourth, but at least you know that this third is going to be here, which means there's going to be a good amount of drones that are going to be here, and that's where your Hellions are going to kind of want to come in. The really hard part with 111 is the amount of multitasking you have to do. So to effectively do it, Banshees would come in from over here and annoy this natural just to pull the queens this way. Meanwhile, Hellions can come in here and try to roast drones. This is another moment where you're going to be queuing SCVs because this is going to be a lot of micro, and you don't want to miss any beat on your production here at home. And so come in, and if you see Lings, easiest way to kill Lings, I think you may have seen me do it a few times when I play Terran. Hug these corners as you run away. And then every time they line up, the flames, they hurt.
Gotcha. Give me 1 second. I gotta be right back.
Okay.
Command center upgrade complete.
Alright, I'm back.
Okay. So now our next kind of minor objectives at this point, 339, is we want to be starting a tech lab on this starport. It would be great to
They
have
should have been building it, wouldn't it?
it. Honestly, the tech lab builds quickly enough that you might be delayed by 10 or so seconds, but either one building it, as long as it gets built,
Yeah.
will be good for you. The problem is neither one of them have been building it, and you start a Viking right here, right?
Yeah.
So maybe this is your plan going forward. Get rid of the
Yeah.
Overlord vision.
Yeah, I'll probably just get the stim on the tech lab on the racks at this point.
If a Zerg sees
like
a
that.
Viking, Zerg is going to kind of assume you're being aggressive anyway, because Viking is just an aggressive unit.
Add-on.
But it could be worth it if you start your stim, but you don't. That would have been good. If you're going to do the Viking,
Is under
it's pretty good. Oh boy. It's pretty good to start your stim, because you had that tech lab on the barracks anyway, so it looks like it was a little delayed. But
Yeah,
all in all, this isn't.
money.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't like ideal, right? Like even
Yeah.
even
It
from
would have been cleaner. Like I got the right stuff, but it should have been down quicker.
even
essentially.
for Aaron right now though, I mean, at 4 minutes 30, you should be like near 50 drones, and he's only at like 34. So you both are kind of, I can tell in this game, you both are kind of like in each other's head a little bit right now. This is good. At 5 minutes, this is okay. It looks like you actually are.
complete.
Well, you could throw down another eBay. I was about to say 5 minutes. You could throw down your
Yeah,
engineering
yeah, I
base.
Yeah, and a fourth gas too.
Mm.
Probably happens right there. Yeah. Oh, that's a mistake. Yeah, I remember. I remember I did that this game. Obviously, that's a mistake.
Yeah. Another thing is if you need helpful benchmarks, around 4 minutes 30 to 440 is when you want your Hellions to be harassing him, and then your Banshees or Liberator or whatever you want to use as any kind of multi-prong, or even with the Hellions, as long as they're out there on the map. Around 4:30 to 5 minutes is when you want to start poking him. You've had 6 Hellions here for a little bit. Honestly, he probably sent those Zerglings to your base just to see what you were doing, because it seemed late to him. So, but other than that, now that we have the third CC, we actually could have, and this is for just like your future, this third doesn't need to land right away, especially because this base isn't saturated yet. You could just keep it in here and safely worker produce this mineral line until this is about to be full, and then you can start landing this.
Yep.
It's safer, and you don't accidentally run the risk of, he's not doing it right now, but a Ling run by coming in and getting 3 mules. That is around 800 minerals worth of lost mining, which can be devastating. Especially because, like, as Terran, you should know your mining efficiency is the lowest of all 3 races. So, or maybe not quite efficiency, but just the speed that you ramp up your economy compared to the other 3. Where Zerg has Larva, which is a broken mechanic, and Protoss has a chrono boost. It's always good for you to be able to maximize.
Yep.
Now,
So-
these Hellions have another job, believe it or not, other than just holding creep back and dealing damage. Their job is to see what he's now making. Right? Like, we have banelings, we have roaches, but we don't know any of that information. And so the most helpful thing we can do right now is start poking in, right? We may lose this Hellion. that's okay. As long as we don't lose everything all at once and we kind of see what he's up to, it's worth it to just get in on this information. Because like right now, we're gonna look back at your camera. You're looking at your base, which is, fine. But we do see on the minimap there's creep approaching the halfway marker on the map. These Hellions need to get to work denying that creep. There's a small saying in Terran versus Zerg that you can tell the game state of the match by how far the creep spread is. And he's being a little aggressive. He made the mistake of kind of coming at you off creep, but you don't really want to chase roaches back on the creep either. So we're gonna take like kind of a benchmark look at your situation right now. So these barracks are late. Barracks 4 and 5. Do you have combat shields yet? We don't yet have combat shields. Almost 7 minutes in the game. That's a little painful. And we went for widow mines right off the bat. What did you see in this game particularly that made you say that you wanted to go widow mine?
Just was playing Widow Mines until I saw the roaches. It's just how I would normally play it.
Right. So we're gonna make this adjustment. The Hellions, right? When you play 1-1-1 like this, the Hellions and any Banshee, whatever sky unit you have, in this case you have the Viking. This Viking, I know it might be like a little bit like much to control, but just have this Viking like on another control group and hunt overlords. Like shift click it around the map a little bit. Around this map it'd be like here, just like pathways. Find pathways, because that's where overlords are going to be, because they want to monitor the pathways so that the Hellions themselves can't get damage. And the Hellions themselves, if you see like 2 or 3 queens, right? 2 or 3 queens are not going to kill 6 Hellions in the blink of an eye. So you can kind of run past them a little bit. The only reason you're running past them is because you would... I'm losing myself. You want to see this. You want to see, oh, shit, roaches. Okay, well, I never need to move out in the game again. That's basically what that means. Whenever you see a guy playing roaches, all you have to do is small little drops, but largely you just stay home with tank production, your Marine Marauder, get that 4th base up. Because we're starting to approach the point in the game where it's no longer about damaging the Zerg. And that's honestly, as Terran, one of the harder parts, is when you hit into that 70-80 drone phase of the game. Because that is when you're on defense mode and just trying to take good trades while expanding.
Complete. Your base is under attack.
So Ravagers are coming in, they're biling the mines. This is just an unfortunate side effect of
Upgrade.
having not known that he was gone roaches. Thankfully for us, we actually supply blocked him. That's impressive. Also though, if you do continue this Viking style, this pillar right here is like the first spot it goes. Here
Gotcha.
and back here.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Makes sense.
But we have a decent worker count.
Mineral field depleted.
You know, it's never good for the Zerg to be on equal workers with you. So, in terms of mining, you're actually gonna beat him in numbers as long as you remember to drop mules. So we look at the income right now. Yeah, super similar. Maybe off by a couple hundred. But if those mules ever drop, whew. Okay.
I was target firing the banelings as best I could.
Yeah. Unless you get really good at mouse accuracy, which I think there's some arcade games for that. Don't worry about trying to click on banelings.
Command center.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't bad. I'm usually not bad at it, I don't think. I'll take that attempt at it every time, wouldn't you?
Not if
I
I'm
think that's
floating 2,000 minerals.
I mean, that's a different thing of it, though. I've
Well,
been
no, because
floating
here's the thing.
before that fight.
Here's the thing, right? We can
I
look
was
at
floating
this.
2,000 before that fight.
We can look at this fight again.
Yeah. See, I'm already floating before the fight, and I've got like a production tab full of stuff. But yeah, obviously I'd get more stuff produced.
But see, that's the thing.
You never want to float
For
2K,
the longest
obviously.
time, you were just producing 2 Marines at the beginning and then the end of that fight. Only at the very end of it did you start producing out of these barracks.
Yeah. Yep. Obviously.
And these being
Never
late
float 2K.
already, like once like one thing's late, everything just becomes late after that, and that's why it always hurts. And so if it was me, and I'm not trying to nitpick and say like, I'm just a better Terran, but if it was me, I would have just stimmed right about, let's see, good part B. Now truly me would stim and then split behind the stim, because I'm really bad at pre-splitting for whatever reason. But like right there would have stimmed and then start the production on the rest of these barracks. And then another thing, okay, this depot's gonna finish at a good time. At this point in the game, it is safe to do 2 depots at a time, because you're constantly gonna be like kissing the edge of this supply block with just one, and that's if you like do it perfectly on time. Often enough, we will run into the moment where we really didn't want to be supply blocked at a particular time. That's a good Widowmine hit. Not bad. And see, this is why there's... Ow. That's why there's the saying, never attack a Terran on 3 base. Look how easy that defense was. Because you just put everything right here.
Command center up.
Never attack off creep, never attack a Terran on 3 base. Even though technically you're 4 base. Though he doesn't probably realize it. So, now that we're kind of, we're established on 4 base, we need to make a decision going further. I think this is where a lot of Terrans also get kind of messed up a bit. Because they're so used to just like, let me get to 8 racks. 1 factory, 1 starport, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I'm really happy to see is you are throwing down a 2nd factory.
Yeah, you can go 5-2-1 versus Roach, right? I guess I probably would have done that if I wasn't floating so much earlier.
You could go 5-2-1. You could go 8-1-1. You could go you could go 5-1-2 even if you wanted to take air control over it. Which honestly, as long as you can establish a good tank count, which I'm not gonna lie to you, it is so important to start making tanks right now. I would have switched these 2. Just to start getting that tank production going. 1 Marauder may, or I guess what would be the time difference? 4 or 5 Marauders. Unlikely they'd get 5 Marauders out of that by the time this produces a tank. But a tank is still going to be more helpful than the Marauders right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just because it's so good at zoning. That's the whole thing. Because a Roach army is going to have to commit onto it before they're going to get value from killing the tank. And the tank's going to always at least get 2 shots off. Unless it gets unless there's a Viper and it only got 1 shot off and then it gets abducted. But that's a very niche situation. 9 times out of 10, it'll always at least get 2 shots off, if not 3. And because he came around that corner, I would absolutely set up my tanks right here. And like maybe 1 right there. But a good amount of them right here. But good to see this. I would like also to see...
Add-on complete.
Beautiful, beautiful. 2nd armory. Definitely what we want. Maybe we want it a little bit earlier, but we're working with what we have right now. And the big thing from here is we're now in trade mode. We're no longer in slow the Zerg down. The Zerg is where they want to be now. There's no stopping that. But
Your forces
Oh.
attack.
Okay, so this is something I'm also going to touch on. Something that I've seen actually you Thermal recommend, and so I'm totally absolutely going to steal it for my own coaching. Is when he is starting to get this third base saturated, he always at least puts a couple missile turrets in the main around the dead space, which could actually help stop Nidus Worms. It could stop Overlord drops. It could stop a whole lot. But he also puts a sensor tower right here, or wherever the further corner is around this third. Because if you had a sensor tower here, you would have seen them all the way starting to come from like right here.
Yeah,
And
I forget
if
about that building a lot.
it is such an
I do use them
important building for staying alive in these approaching late game situations.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm trying to figure out where most of your supply is at. I guess it's mostly in the Marines for your army supply. And medevacs are adding 12, but so yeah, this is gonna be a little rough. Normally it's not too bad for Terran to do these base trades. Oh, that was a nice one of mine. The major problem is just like you don't have enough stuff to even stop this from just killing you right now. Right, and Aaron's fumbling this a little bit because he's moved commanded a couple times through this.
Yeah, his one bio right there was like, it was over nothing. It was like behind my Marines and SCV, so I was like able just to stay there fighting him.
Yeah, a lot of Zergs will try to predict where the bile will go as soon as the bile flies, but
Yeah, gotcha.
sometimes it doesn't always work like that, especially if you're paying attention. Would like to repair these, that was a good trade. That was a, net positive. Against Roach Ravager. Roach Ravager is a very tradey style.
I think I was trying to chase those down.
So it actually does turn out that you're not dead right here. The major problem is just there's no more mining here. But onto what I was gonna say before that Roach Ravager army hit. Now that we're kind of established on our setup here, and this is the setup, right? 4 base locations. We want to start dropping more CCs, which will help eat at that mineral float, but it also gives us the iron bank. And then once we take the 5th base, we can have like 5 or 6 of these up, and that will absolutely help you through that. So we're gonna continue seeing what goes from here,
Upgrade complete.
because at this point everything that's happened in the first 6 minutes is just gonna snowball.
Field depleted. Mineral field depleted. All SCVs.
It would be $200 for an hour or $250 for an hour and a half.
A big thing you are forgetting right now is your 3-3.
Yeah.
So with mascots, it's mostly just handshakes and high fives, dancing around, face painting, and pictures. Right, continuing.
Mineral field depleted. Mineral field depleted.
All right, give me one moment.
Mineral field depleted.
I remember game I had, like, how many tanks do I have right now? Hit you? I have 3 tanks right now. I go from like 0 tanks to like 8 tanks, and I'm like, finally, I'm like comfortable to take the fights now.
Mineral field depleted. Mineral field depleted. Upgrade.
Okay. It should go through at any time now, and you'll have a picture of what he looks like.
Command
I saw that shit.
Let me just double check.
mineral field depleted.
Yes, we do.
Mineral field. Mineral field depleted.
Depends on the age of the children, but typically, most of our performers prefer, especially with the mascot, an hour at the most. So yes.
Mineral
Yeah.
field depleted. Upgrade complete. Command center upgrade complete.
Sure. Go ahead and respond to that picture with your email address, and I can absolutely send pricing and everything over to you. Rebecca. That is the absolute best pricing that I can do. That's pricing that the owner has set for the characters.
But it didn't really matter. I had so much.
No, unfortunately, we couldn't.
Vespine geyser exhaust. Mineral field depleted.
Sure. Okay. Have a good day then. Bye.
Yeah, so that was a pretty decent push. Would have been even easier if we had remembered the tanks earlier, because then you would have had like 6 tanks on this road after our army showed up, but that was still a good push. The only thing I would tell you to be careful of is when you do that counter push, wait for your reinforcements a little bit, because you push with like 7 marauders and a few ghosts and some marines, and that's when he kind of like jumped on you. I'll go back a bit. Oh, also this push. I want to touch on this a little bit. This is mostly just kind of like finicky information at this point, because it's not like super into it. Like the most important part of every match is just the first 5 to 6 minutes. But right here, that's a good seed hub. It's not too bad. As soon as you scan this, yeah, you scan this, you see.
I didn't see him.
Honestly,
My eyes are focused on the fucking roaches and hydras and stuff, you know?
honestly, whenever you're doing a push like this late into the game, keep an eye out for the purple bars.
Yeah, that's a good call.
You don't even really need to see, is it a viper, is it an infestor, is it an overseer? It doesn't really matter. If you have this kind of an army with ghosts in here, just start blanketing the purple bars at least like
Yeah.
1 or 2
That's a good
times.
call. Even versus Protoss for temp bars and stuff, yeah, that's a good call.
There's a lot of people have problems like identifying that the units are there, just because it's like a mass of stuff.
Exactly.
A easy way, now it's not going to be ultimately efficient, right? Like 1 or 2 EMPs here is good. You don't have that many ghosts, sadly. Like,
Yeah,
there's
actually, I
7.
realized I was making ghosts and I didn't need them, so I stopped it.
But no, ghosts are still good here, because you're starting to approach what is called the god comp of Terran, and that is just a marauder, ghost, tank, and then soon you can make Thors as well. And it's basically you're on ghost mech at that point, and that's why he's going to be struggling so much here. First, your upgrades are really good. He's still on 2-2. You're on 3-3 now. You have +2 weapons on your tank. The only thing I would advise, a small difference, instead of pushing everything forward like this, spread them out around the tanks and then have a small group push in first.
Yeah.
You could even hit the EMP on the infestors, back off from here, spread out, and then slowly inch up these other tanks. The tanks are what's going to force the fight. The bio being up front is good to protect the tanks, and you can kind of just stim a move when he launches the full attack. But that could have made this fight so much easier, because that is a scary fungal. Thankfully, there was like no lurkers or anything.
Yep. But if you had, because I definitely just start pumping out the fucking ghost and even more libs, because I'm already on the lib production, so
Yeah.
it's decent at least too.
And he has to back off here, and he knows there's no way he ever turns this fight around. So we'll break this one down into 3 things. The first one is keep up your worker production in the early game. You were good at worker production once you got established on 3 base, but in the earlier parts where you're playing with the Hellions, you're playing with the Reaper, Vikings, or Banshees, whatever, that's when it's going to be most important for you to be playing around with the worker production.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing is, you obviously already saw it, that reactor was late. When you do the thing, it's Reaper. If you're going to do a 1-1, Reaper, Marine, Reactor, Factory. That'll line up perfectly so that when the factory finishes, the reactor finishes, you could just swap them on right away. You could start a tech lab on the barracks while the starport builds, and you switch it over like that. You know how it's supposed to go. And then, you could do a push, or just however you want to play. If you prefer playing more defensively, you can learn to do the biocamp absorb style.
I think I want to get better at doing those like 7.5 minute pushes,
Yeah.
But I think versus roaches, we're not supposed to essentially, right? We're just supposed to sit back, get a bunch of tanks, and max out.
There is no supposed to, as much as every Terran wants to complain about. I'm gonna edit that out. As much as every Terran wants to complain about it's hard to push into roaches, you actually can push into roaches. You get 5 or 6 tanks, you wait for your 2-2, and you go. Because that's the moment.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of what people usually do, yeah. The 2-2 push. It's around 10 minutes, and you usually do kind of max out around that same time, right? I think is
2-2 pushes hit between 7:30 and 8 minutes.
Okay.
And so, honestly, we can look at his army around that time too, give you kind of an idea how hard that would hurt, right? And that's with possibly a fair bit better macro, but right. So right here, right, we're on +1. Imagine we were on 2-2 and we were around 150, 160 supply.
Mm-hmm.
We just go across the map. He has 5 Ravagers, 3 Banes, 4 Roaches. That's really the only scary part. The Lings are just meat shield. They almost never matter in these situations. It's just about connecting the tech units to the mass.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, if those barracks were on time, if that factory was on tank, we could have 4 tanks, 5 tanks right now. We could have a bunch more Marines, couple Marauders, right? Obviously, it would be helpful for the Hellions to kind of see what the units are, and that's going to be the last objective that I give you. Is just, while the Reaper scouts what tech, if there's going to be any super quick tech, the Hellions are there to see what the main tech is going to be. You see a bunch of Lings and Queens defending, it's more likely than not going to be either Mutalisks or Lingbane. If you see Roaches defending, well, could be a couple of things, because there is the style of opening up the minimal number of roaches to go into Lingbane, And then there's just playing Roach Ravager, which is basically what this was. He sprinkled in Banelings.
Hmm.
In my opinion, it's just better to do Roach Ravager. If he had gone for just a 1/1 Roach Ravager max out push, he would have died.
Yeah. True.
But yeah, I would say just focus on getting the first 5 minutes as tight as possible. And
What I suck at right now in TvZ for some reason.
yeah, and it's just all about getting the reps in. Honestly, once you know what to do, just getting the repetition in and killing the bad habits is what's
Yeah, I don't
going
know
to improve your
I don't know
play.
what's throwing me off because I used to be able to do the build like so much better. But like I don't know, I'm definitely a better player now. So like, but I'm so struggling with the build on the TvZ part for some reason.
See, this is just what happens, right? You're very comfortable in what you're used to. You start playing with other strategies. You go back to what you used to do, and these other strategies have improved you as an overall player. But then you go back to your old stuff, and things are off. And that's just because you haven't practiced it as much as you used to.
Yeah.
As soon as
yeah.
you get back into the rhythm, you'll notice like, oh, I'm casually hanging out at an extra 200 MMR than I'm used to. And so that's all this is. It's just keeping up the worker production, making sure, most important thing in the early game is just keep making workers. And so when you look at these replays, just watch the production for the first 5 minutes and see, was there any time lapses where I wasn't making workers? Okay, there's one here. Why was it? Oh, I got supply blocked. Okay. So now we know maybe once we're established on 2 bases, we make 2 supply depots at a time. And now that has removed that threat. Okay, there's another one right here. What was I doing? Oh, I was over microing. Okay, so I should remember right before I get into a fight, queue up a bunch of SCVs and queue up a bunch of army as much as I can, and then try to control a fight as best as I can. I promise you, if you do that, if you get like all 3 of those down, and just systematically, right? Like Reaper comes in, I'm queuing SCVs, taking a look. Okay, there's no weird tech. A couple minutes later, Hellions come in. I'm poking. I'm killing creep tumors. I don't care if I get hit a couple times by the queens. It's fine. It's the tax of killing the creep tumor. Maybe my banshees come around here. Poke at these drone lines because there's no spore, and I leave. Maybe I could just go cloak and I just hold position them near the gases, right? That's a drac move. That's a drac move, to be fair, but it absolutely works. To
One
not
thing I have a question on. I
Yeah.
just thought about should I always take my banshees into the main or like the Viking or the lib? Yeah. Just to see what's going on in there, or what do you think about like that? You think it depends on where the position of the third is?
I don't think the third has anything to do with it, honestly.
Okay.
It's just depending on how you want to set up your engagements. So, right? So like, okay, let's take a look at this, right? This third, like I predicted, he creeped the living hell out of the front here.
Hmm.
But he kind of left this exposed, right? So if you come this way with your Hellions, and your Banshees came up this way, and you see this base here at some point, maybe it's being taken right around the time the Banshees are coming by, if Aaron's on time, then you say, okay, well, there's not a lot of creep here. I can set up my attack here to push in, because there's not as much creep. I don't have to worry about it as much. Versus trying to clear all of this. I can clear this with time. I can send a double drop here later or something, and I can cut into maybe about here before his army jumps on me and I have to fly away. But at least my Hellions saw the roaches that are right here now. So then that tells me, okay, now that I see that, I'm not really making any factory units right now because I was sitting in my barracks. I was getting my my E-base at 5 minutes. But I see this now. I throw a tech lab onto that factory and I don't go with it mine.
Yep.
I throw down my 2 extra barracks. I'm saturating my 3rd. I go 2 tank production at a time, and I just wait until I'm 2-2 and maxed, and then I kill him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's kind of how a couple of my TvZ games kind of end at right now. Just kind of because the macro is so bad, I'm like more at home focused on the macro than like getting out of my own base. But yeah, it's all kind of off after the first 5 minutes is off, like you kind of mentioned. So
And that's the thing, and that's what kind of like the reason why 9 out of 10 coaches will always tell you the first 5 minutes mean everything. And a lot of platinum and low diamond players are like, that doesn't make sense. Well, the first 5 minutes, my first 5 minutes are great. Why aren't I masters yet? Well, it's because missing a worker here, missing a worker there, forgetting a building there, and then not remembering to start your next set of upgrades here is it's gonna impact you later. All of a sudden, you're gonna lose that fight that you would have won.
yeah, because I feel like watching this fucking replay, actually, I think I actually microed it better than I normally would. So
Yeah, your micro wasn't too bad, like compared to like micro I've seen you do before.
yeah,
Like, it was pretty good. The only thing here is just making sure, one, you have the right unit composition that comes with your scouting. 2, understanding where his army is at, and that's going to help by putting the sensor tower there. And then 3, hitting your timings. That's the biggest thing for Terran, is hitting their timings, making sure they're on time with their harassment and pressures. But once they get into 70 plus drones, you're past the point of trying to slow them down.
yeah,
You're at the point where you got to kind of turtle expand. And this map is actually kind of nice for it, just because you break these walls down and get kind of a 4th
yeah.
base
You
for
get pretty
free.
safe 4th and 5th.
You could, if you...
Well, you get the gold as the 5th, I think.
You can go that way. That would actually probably be a lot easier if you take this, because
That's what I like to do.
you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about here, and you just take this later. It's like a 6th space once you're really getting in there.
Pretty safe 6 at that point. Yep. That's the way I look at this map.
And then you just take these gases.
Yeah, those guys should pretty much come down not too late after the base is even established, shouldn't they?
That's for mech. For bio, you can delay these a little bit, just because you're still mostly mineral heavy. It's just once you're like half or even 3/4 saturated on this base, and then you take these gases, and then
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
but it's not too bad. You just taking those tips will help you improve. And then we will have our second session later, and we can maybe like put what we've learned today in this session into practice then, see how it affects. Is there any other questions you have? You still have like 10 minutes.
I'm trying to think of anything.
Yeah, get TK's money worth.
I don't know. Here, let's I guess. Hold on. I'm trying to think of like what else would be possible in 10 minutes.
I mean, I'm fine going a little bit over. I'm not gonna be like a super like.
So if we're gonna just like practice some games later, why don't we just say the other 10 minutes for practicing later during some games? I feel like that would be the most useful thing. Just the reps at this point, right? Because like I kind of like you definitely helped me with like the scouting shit there. And,
Yeah.
like, a little bit of the micro stuff. I'm like looking for the purple bars. That's like a huge thing for me to take in. And stuff, but I need to get these reps in more than anything. I think will be the main thing, and then like you can kind of be like, you should be in my base at this time, and I'll just be getting used to like you said the Reaper time is like 3:15. Yeah.
3 minutes. At 3 minutes, you jump in.
Okay. Yeah. So
Between
like
3
that would be,
minutes and
like,
3
really
minutes
good to hear.
30, because 3:30 is the earliest a standard build will have a ling speed finishing, versus Terran. It's between 3:40 and 3:45, and that's if they do the 3 hatch before ling speed.
Yep. I don't see that too often though, and I don't expect that out of Ron.
Not sure. Ron, from my memory, he's a pretty.
Cheesy.
I don't actually think he's all that cheesy, but I've only ever played him a couple times, and he macroed both times against me. So
Gotcha. Yeah. You might have got him on a different day then.
Has he cheesed a lot this season?
Yeah. He likes doing some roach rushes and stuff like that.
Well, like 5 roaches or like 2 base all-ins kind of stuff.
I think like the 5 roach stuff like that,
Okay.
and then I think he might do the max out roach push as well.
Okay. So there's a couple ways, and this is how I'll spend the last 10 minutes. So, good timing on the Reaper. So, go across the map, right? Reaper's going, and then let's say you don't see this. Let's say instead this was a later hatchery, and you went for the 5 roach, 16 pool, 17 hatchery, 17.
There we go. I got you. Sorry. It was
No worries.
clicked off. There we go.
So he goes to 16, 17, 17. And then as soon as the pool finishes, he throws down the roach horn, starts another drown, Overlord Queen. And then as soon as it's done, he starts 5 roaches, and he starts going across the map immediately. This Reaper sees it. Okay. It's really, really dumb, or it can be very difficult to hold a 5 roach on the low ground, which is why we basically never see it. What you want to do, obviously, immediately close this door.
Mm-hmm.
Start a bunker about right here.
Mm-hmm.
And then, based off like where you put your factory, you can put a depot right here.
Ideally, another bunker would kind of go there, though, wouldn't it?
It doesn't matter as long as you have a building to slow them down from getting into this mineral line, because that's all the 5 roach cares about, is killing workers. So you put 4. You could do 3 Marines in the Reaper. You could do 4 Marines, and the Reaper's out here shooting it. Don't try to grenade roaches. 9 times out of 10, they end up jumping over the wall, and then you're like, well, shit, that was a bad idea.
I've definitely never tried that, but that's what I need to think about.
And then as soon as this factory finishes, it makes a cyclone. And then
Yeah, cyclone into Tech Lab.
yeah, you do a cyclone into Tech Lab. You could do 2 cyclones to, after you kill all the roaches, you go across the map with those cyclones and you deny the 3rd. That's one thing against pool first as Terran. You want to be a little bit more aggressive on them because they're not going to have as much stuff. They sacrificed some tech. Technically, tech in the form of this laying speed that's just now starting at 223. For the roaches, and roaches and queens aren't going to be exactly perfect at the time where you could arrive to cancel this 3rd or that 3rd. And if you don't see a 3rd started, by the time like 2 cyclones and the Reaper and maybe a medevac even get across the map, then
I think I would go, if I saw the roach warning and stuff, I think I'm one of my things right now is I'm trying to like play consistently because like my macro's been so weird. So I think I'm trying to go Banshees every game, like even roach defense or not. Just 2 cloak Banshees. I'm even thinking of just not even going with the cloak and just getting 2 Banshees for defense / scouting. But yeah, so I think I'll go Banshees to kind of, so like put that into your scenario. Like I'll have a cyclone, a tank, and I've got my 2 Banshees out, and like I'm wanting to take my natural, but I don't see a 3rd. Like that's
so here's the thing, right? If you close this thing, bunker, cyclone, push that. That's about the time. You're not gonna have time to get a Banshee out before the roaches get there.
Yeah.
Push it away. Don't bother with the tank. Start a Tech Lab, start a Starport, switch it over, start your Banshees before the tank, and then you make the tank after the Banshees.
Okay.
And you come over here and do whatever you want. They're going to be great scouting info because they can fly. They're going to be great for damage, especially if you see any roaches on the map, not next to any queens. You just snipe them real quick.
But I could be an asshole with my 1 cyclone, 2 Banshees, pretty much. You're saying?
Oh yeah. You could be a bit of a dick. You can come over here to this hatchery, or over here. It's smarter to take this one, but it's easier to defend this one. So if you see it here, just come up with your 1 or 2 cyclones and your Banshee, and you start pecking at it, and then he's gonna have to cancel it because there's no way he can defend it. And then he's on 2 base. His only hope from here is to either play into some kind of like Nidus Swarm Host or into Mutas, or he's gonna try and 2-base on you, but you already know he's playing roaches, so you just play defensively anyway, and you'll win. And the biggest thing is from there, now you're no longer concerned with the Zerg is doing. That's the great part. This turns into TvT almost, where you're just trying to establish your early game, and then you get to play your game.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's pretty much what this was. You're right. Just once I got those tanks out, I was kind of like, oh, I'm feeling pretty good.
And the only thing you need to worry about, if you're worried about max out roach push, the thing that triggers a max out roach push is you didn't kill any drones.
Mm.
If you don't kill like 4 or 5 drones throughout the entire game, and he gets to just macro,
Mm-hmm.
he'll saturate 3 bases. He'll take a 4th, but just for larva. He'll get 1-1, and he'll just walk across at 7.5 minutes with 180 supply, and you're going to die.
Yeah.
So get some damage, get some scouting, and then play your game. If ever he does that push and you don't get that overwhelming dread feeling of being overrun, you just play into tank ghost from there, and you'll be forever safe. Roach Ravager will never ever ever be able to kill an ensieged tank ghost army.
Do you actually want the ghost against the Roach Ravager or no?
So think about this, right? Do you know how expensive a Ravager is?
Not off the top of my head.
It is 3 supply, which is the same amount of supply as a swarm host. It is 100 gas, which is the same cost of a muta. And it's 100 minerals. Right? Because 75 minerals, 25 gas for a roach, and then 75 gas, 25 minerals to upgrade it to a Ravager. So it is basically a mutalisk with a higher supply cost.
Okay.
And so when you see them marching in and they attack and they get hit with tanks, they start running away. That's when you cloak the ghost and you snipe like 4 or 5 Ravagers. Then you just basically got over 1,000 resources worth of trade value.
Okay. You just got to be careful not to take the bios with the ghost, though.
Yeah, I mean, spread the ghosts out.
What if they're not making Ravager? Would you still take the ghost and just kill the roaches? And
It's
snipe
just a
stuff?
good composition to start mixing into once you get into like
Gotcha.
3.5, 4 base saturation, and then
Yeah, I'm only using them like super late game, like
Yeah.
Ghost Mech, like you're saying, or like versus Protoss, for EMPs.
and that's the whole thing against roaches, because if the roaches try to push and they don't do damage on the first push, you immediately just go into Ghost Mech from there. They can saturate, but here's the thing: you already have the best things that you do against them. You have Marauders, you have tanks, you have the medevacs, and if you truly, truly decide to go for that later style with your double armory, you get attack on the vehicle weapons, and you get attack on the air weapons. You go Liberators, and you make it truly unassailable.
Yeah, no, I do love Liberators in there too.
And for Zerg, the answer to, well, he's got tanks, he's got ghosts, he's got Marauders, he's got Liberators. I technically, very, very technically could, if I have perfect micro, go in there with Hydra Lurker Viper and dismantle the position. And then, maybe I bring in Festers to fungal the ghosts, but more likely than not, everything gets EMP'd and then everything gets sniped. I have to go Broods from there into a super endgame army. And 9 times out of 10, Zerg will just flood you until they run out of money and then they'll leave. This is how I win the majority of my TvZs. Is I'll do the early damage, maybe I'll do 1 or 2 drops, and then I play into the bio tank camp style into ghosts, and it is extremely strong. Especially if you pre-split. This is something I never see Terrans do. They never pre-split before a fight. They'll run in a ball, and then they'll either try to gun everything down like they're Clem, or they'll try to, in the moment, split like they're Maru. And I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
Just
I think it's
pre-split.
just bad habits developed already.
Yeah, so you know what you need to work on, and that'll absolutely, like, if you could get all that kind of like gunned down in the next 24 hours, you'll smoke, Ron. You'll smoke.
I hope so. We'll see.
All right.
See.
That has been coaching session 1. This will be uploaded Saturday evening. And so, good luck, have fun. I'll see you for the non-recorded version of the coaching later.
Cool, man. Appreciate it. Catch you later.
Goodbye, YouTube.